Having a cheap daily driver or beater can be an awesome choice, especially if you're into cars. It's smart financially, lets you not freak out over paint or interior damage, and lets you save more for the fun second car you actually want. It's also great because you can fix small issues other people are scared of. But although wrenching alone or with friends can be wicked fun, it's not always fun when a 2-hour job turns into a day of 12 hours of work, 3 stripped nuts and another damaged one, and now your friend's been under your car for so long all he can say is,
"Where's the leak, ma'am?"
So to avoid getting stuck with a car that lasts 2 weeks or is an unreliable nightmare, here are the 7 best American daily drivers for under $5,000. Let's get into it. Let me know which of these is best or if you've had any of them and what videos you want to see in the future. Also, here's my usual disclaimer for prices, and thumping the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy is always very cool. Now, without further ado, number 1 is popular all around, and it's the 2000-07 Ford Focus. I know these are common and small, and people say car prices are coming down, whether that's true or not, but I was still surprised how cheap some of these come in great shape. I easily found buy-worthy ones between $2,500 to $6,000, and even the cheapest ones didn't seem to have any significant issues. I more so just put 6 as a high to be safe. One of the $3,000 ones even had 63,000 miles and looked great, so these definitely could be an awesome option, just don't expect to win any races. And if you want a more updated one, the 08 to 11s are also popular and highly spoken of, and even though I didn't see as many of them as the older ones, they were also easy to find for $3,500 to $6,000. So for the update, there's not that much extra cost, but if you want a Focus, please, for the love of God, do not buy an automatic 2012 or newer. Those transmissions are famously unreliable, and of the 2 owned by people I know, I've seen 2 of those transmissions desperately try to tear themselves apart from the inside.
Why won't you let me die?
Next up is probably the most popular answer for a reliable American car, and it's all cars with the 3800 engine. This includes well, I won't spend 20 minutes reading all of them, so I'll just toss them on screen. On their own, most of these aren't super common, but combined, there are a ton of options. I've also heard parts are easy to find and inexpensive. Some of these only had supercharged versions or offered them as an upgrade, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one that I'm missing, but I think those are all of them. The supercharged ones usually aren't that much more expensive from what I saw, and the NA Series 2 are said to be the more reliable, but the boosted ones are good too. And who could complain about spending 5,000 buckos for a reliable, decent looking car with a blower screaming under the hood like... Now for number 3, yeah, just ignore the fact that the second entry was like 30 cars. It's the first and second gen Ford Escapes. The main thing people complain about with these is that the transmission can go out if they're not serviced when they should be, but other than that, these are very liked. To me, they're a great all-arounder where they're cheap, reliable, you get more room than like a sedan, but they still get decent gas mileage depending on which one you get. A 4-cylinder should generally get you better MPG, but the V6s definitely seem more reliable, and you just can't argue with that insane bump and pow. The Mercury Mariner and Mazda Tribute are rebadged copies of these, and for bigger options, you could also go for an Explorer or Mercury Mountaineer, or the even bigger Expedition. Tahoes are also highly spoken of and a similar size to these. This started from comparing old and new Escapes, and maybe I see skewed information, but older cars from like 95 to 2005 or 10 seem so much more reliable than newer cars. The 3rd gen Escapes have a not so common actual transmission problem, like dipping out closer to 60,000 miles compared to a questionable 150,000 on the Gen 1 and 2s, but it's other cars too. For that reason, I'm very tempted to only stick to older stuff like this, but I digress. Next up is one for any family people or anyone who's got too many friends for a regular car to fit, and it's minivans. You might think you'd look lame with a minivan, especially if you're a younger chap, maybe in high school, but it could very well not be the case. In high school, one of my friends had a cheap hand-me-down minivan that he, let's just say, wasn't overly protective of, and it was actually wicked fun to ride around in. Beyond being able to fit a lot of people, it can be a funny car for a teenager or anyone without kids, and the sliding doors open up a lot of possibilities. Just make sure if someone's in the back seat with the sliding door open, you warn them before braking or taking a sharp left turn on a dirt road. Otherwise, there's a small chance that maybe your friend almost gets their head guillotined off when the door comes shooting forward. But that's just a guess, you know? Who knows what could happen, or did happen? Who knows?
Anyway, last week...
As the fifth car here, we've got the 08 to 12 Chevrolet Malibus, which were offered with an inline 4 and 2 different V6s. Most people say to avoid the 3.6-liter V6s, but the other two options are great. These are one of the easiest cars to find around me, as low as $3.5 grand, but for really nice ones, they could go up to like $7. They even have an almost kinda sorta fast for the class 6.7 second 0 to 60 time. Other than that, though, I'll admit, yeah, they're pretty bland looking. And as the last of the three most popular recommendations and an OG one, it's the Panther platform cars, so Crown Vics, Mercury Grand Marquis, and Lincoln Town cars. People wrap the Lincoln Continental in with these too, but those don't use this platform. These may not have the most up-to-date looks inside or out, and they make pretty small power for their weight, but they also usually get pretty bad MPG. Besides all that, though, they are a crowd favorite, they're reliable, cheap to fix and easy to work on, and a lot of people have great things to say about the ride comfort. Police retired Vics will be the cheapest, but 100% do your research on owning an ex-cop car first, and even the town cars and Grand Marquis go for pretty cheap and good shape. Mercury Marauders use the Panther platform too, but are a very different story, and I usually see them for 15 to 20 grand since they're slightly updated and have 4-valve V8s instead of the sad stinky 2 valves. But next up, we have the Malibu's direct nemesis, the 06 to 2012 Ford Fusions and Mercury Milans. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Milan.
And Lincoln MKZs, but that's all, I swear. These were offered with 3-liter V6s making 220 to 240 horsepower and 3.5-liter V6s making 263 horsepower. The only negative I saw of going for the 3.5-liter engine in sport trims is that it's got an internal water pump similar to close to your Tauruses and Edges. And if that leaks too much, it apparently could just torpedo the whole engine. If I was looking for a cheap sedan, I'd probably choose between something with a 3800 engine and one of these Fusions, because I think the looks are decent for that era and they're pretty good value for the cost. If I had a higher budget, I'd probably consider the next gen Fusion, but again, I'd bet these older ones will last close to the same amount of time as the newer ones anyway. A few foreign honorable mentions are the typical Civics, Accords, Camrys, Corollas, and RAV4s, although those seem like they're getting so popular and praised now that prices are going up for even older ones. Let me know which of these takes the cake for you and what videos you want to see. As always, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.